is not tame.
Not really sure what thoughts go through your mind when you finish a book. Like maybe you close that back cover and you're excited because you feel a sense of accomplishment having finished another story. Maybe some of you, the only reason you read is someone makes you, so you check it off. It's like, okay, I got that done. Or you have a goal of so many books, and so you check it off because I'm one closer to the end. Maybe some of you read books and there are certain characters that you just connect with. And so when you close the book because you're done, there's a little bit of sadness to it. Or maybe it's not just one book, but you're reading a series, and so there's 5, 10, 20 books to it. You have spent a lot of time investing in some of these characters, and even though they're not real, there's a connection between you. And when you close the book, man, there's a little bit of an emptiness, a little bit of a sadness because it's come to a conclusion. Some of you who are like, yep, the only books I read are picture books. We could talk about television series then. Okay? And not just series that you binge watch, but you know, those that release a new show every week and it takes you 8 years to get through because you're waiting and you continually connect with the characters. And in that very final day, like the characters finish off by dancing off the set or something like that. And it's like, what am I going to do now? There's a little bit of sadness because something has come to an end. I was thinking about other things that kind of come to an end, or there's a finality to it. And sometimes there's a lot of things. For instance, some of you who go to school, you may have a homework assignment that is due, or you may have a test that you are studying for. And unless your teacher is nice and gives you second chances, like by the time that it's due, or when you walk out of that class, it is done. And you get whatever grade is there. Or for those of you who work, maybe there's a project that you work on or even a presentation that you are giving to a client and you have one shot. Like this is the time to get it done by, and then it's over. Like even coming and preaching for me, you know what? I get that I still have one more service to preach next service, but if I'm not ready and I bomb this one, and I ask you guys, will you please come back later because I didn't do very well? Like you're not going to come back. Like we have these moments where it's like, this is my chance, and then it's done. I was thinking about different sports that you play, and when you're in the middle of a game, a lot of times there's a clock that you can watch the time ticking down, or you know where the finish line is, or you know how many innings there are. And unless you get like run ruled or you get pinned, you know when that finish line is going to be there. And I was even thinking back to some of my sports careers and the ending of some of those. And so track, we were at state. We did not medal, but we had broken a school record, our very last race. And so I remember just some of the excitement feeling that. I remember though in soccer in my college, my very last senior year, we were getting obliterated in the championship match. And that second half couldn't get done quick enough. Like just feeling the defeat that entire time. I remember in wrestling, high school, my last match, third period, like I'm not coming back. I remember feeling that there's nothing that's working against this guy. And so I remember the disappointment of wrestling being done. But the exact same time, I remember the excitement of it's time to eat. So I remember that as well. And so like maybe when you're getting to the end of something, there are all sorts of different feelings or thoughts that you have. But even as I Googled things that come to an end or the idea of finality, every single thing that came up on the website, like website after website after website that I could click on, it was about one topic, death. Like that's what it was. When you're talking finality, what do you do to prepare for death? What should you expect when this is coming? And in our mindset, death is a finality. You know, until Jesus returns, every single one of us will die. Now, maybe you're one of those people that you know scriptures and you're like, aha, I know there's 2 people who never had to taste death. If you are holding out that you're going to be number 3, the probability is not very good. But I'm telling you, life on this earth in its present tense will come to an end. Like even Jesus tasted death. On that cross that he was nailed to, he said the word tetelestai, which means it is finished. The reason that he had come to this earth was to die for us, to rescue mankind. And what he had come to do was complete. It was done. And I can only imagine what his followers felt on that Saturday, just some uncertainty, trying to figure things out. What happens now? Are we going to be killed? And all the things going through their minds. Because when you look at Scripture, it doesn't look like in that moment they're remembering the words of Jesus that he's going to come back. Now, some of the Jewish leaders remembered some of his teaching. They said, hey, we need to make sure that the tomb is guarded because we don't want his body stolen and these lies being spread about. And so there were guards placed in front of the tomb, but it doesn't seem like the disciples were ready for that. But we know that the death of Jesus was not the end of the story. So if you have your Bibles, I want you to turn to Matthew chapter 28. You can also follow along on the Bible app if you want to, but this is going to be our text for the day. Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 through 6. And again, this is the beginning of the rest of the story. So Matthew chapter 28, starting at verse 1. It says, after the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. And there was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook, and they became like dead men. The angel said to the women, do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place that he lay. So as you look at that and you look at the other gospel accounts, these women, they go to the tomb. They're bringing spices to put on Jesus' body. They're not sure how they're going to remove the stone, but God takes care of that. Like even before they get there, this angel has come down, and I can't imagine exactly what it looked like, what this moment looked like, but knowing that these guards are completely terrified and run off, man, and what a sight it must have been. And then the women show up, and the angels say, you don't have to be afraid. I know you came looking for Jesus who was crucified, but no longer. He is alive. In fact, come and look at this place where he lay. I love what it says in Luke 24:5. It says, why do you look for the living among the dead? Jesus is not here. He has risen. And this begins the spreading of the news. They go and begin to share with the other disciples, and people come to look. Jesus makes appearances to different people, and they see him with their own eyes, and people are realizing the truth, and the resurrection of Jesus, it changes everything. From what they had been feeling on Friday and Saturday to now Sunday, it changes everything. Now, when Jesus was alive, he was a fantastic teacher, and one of the things that I love reading are some of his parables. The idea that I need to teach you about the kingdom of God, but to help you grasp it, let me tell you this story so that you're like, aha, that makes sense to me. And so even today, I love it when people will write stories with biblical truths or helping you to understand this is what God has done or what he continues to do. And so one of the stories that I really do love is part of what's called the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, specifically The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I'm sure a lot of you have maybe read it or watched the movie, but just to let you know what happens, there are 4 kids, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, Edmund and Peter and Lucy and Susan. And they're at this house for a while, and one day, basically after time, all 4 of them go through a wardrobe that eventually has no back to it. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And as they go through this wardrobe, they enter this amazing land of Narnia. And snow is everywhere. And they meet Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, who in Narnia, animals can talk. And so they're talking with the beavers, and the beavers tell them about Aslan. And they say, when Aslan, the true king, returns, wrong will be right, and sorrow will be no more. And as the girls are listening, they say, so is he safe? And Mr. Beaver says, who said anything about safe? He is a lion. He's not safe, but he is good. And he is our king. And that has kind of been the basis for our entire series here as we've been looking at God not being tame. That he's not a God that we can contain, that he is greater than we can imagine, and we approach him humbly. But even though he's not safe, he's good. Well, if we jump back to Narnia again, we see that Edmund at one time is very jealous of his brothers and sisters, and so he actually comes across the White Witch, who is at that time kind of ruling over Narnia with her spells, and he thinks that he's going to get to be a prince. Well, she tricks him, enslaves him, and really what she wants to do is kill him. Like, she hates Aslan. She doesn't love the name of Aslan even being said, but she knows of the prophecy that when 4 kids, 2 daughters of Eve, 2 sons of Adam come and they sit on the throne, her power will be extinguished. So she's ready to kill Edmund so that this will not happen. And they begin their way to a place called the Stone Table, because that's where these sacrifices happen. But even on the way there, she's afraid because she has heard that Aslan has come back and he has all of his followers, and maybe they're even at the stone table, so she decides, I need to kill him now. Just while I have control on this, I need to kill him now. But Aslan has already sent some of his followers, and they rescue Edmund before he dies. And Edmund is brought back, and Aslan and Edmund have a conversation. And so many of Aslan's followers are out there wondering what's going on. And Aslan comes to speak, and he says, we have had a conversation, and there is no need to bring up the past. Man, I love that picture of Jesus, that when he interacts with us and he changes our lives, he says, you don't need to talk about the past. Like, that's not what I hold you to. It is done. And so then even as he's had this conversation and people are cheering, the White Witch approaches. She sends someone to Aslan and says, the White Witch is requesting a safe meeting with you. Because again, Aslan is not safe. And he says, yes, let this happen. So she comes before him and she says, you have a traitor in your midst. And you know the deep magic that he belongs to me. I have the right to kill him. His blood is my property. And so many of the people start going, well, Aslan, can't you do something about this? And he says, I can't change the emperor's magic, the ways that he has set things up. But he does have the White Witch come to him, and Aslan and the White Witch talk. And afterwards, Aslan speaks out and says, the matter has been settled. She has renounced her claim on Edmund's life, to which everyone begins to cheer. And as the White Witch is leaving, she turns to Aslan and says, how do I know the promise will be kept? And Aslan lets out a roar, to which she is terrified and runs off. And again, everyone cheers because of what they've seen. But later that night, when everyone has gone to sleep, Aslan leaves camp. And Lucy and Susan can't sleep, and they've come out of their tent, and they actually notice that he's leaving. And they follow for just a little while, and he notices them and says, why don't you come up here? And as they're talking, he says that I am sad, and I am lonely, so I'm glad you're here. And they are getting closer to the stone table. And at one point, Aslan then turns to them and says, okay, you must stop here. You need to hide, and no matter what happens, don't let yourselves be seen. And so they hide. Aslan continues on to the stone table where the White Witch and all of her followers are. And as he approaches, she screams out, the fool is here. And they quickly grab him and muzzle him, and then they shave him to humiliate him. They begin to mock him, saying, look, here is the great cat. Someone else says, is this who we've been afraid of? Someone else says, how many mice have you caught today? Someone else says, would you like us to bring you some milk? And they kick him, and they hit him, and they spit upon him. And all the while, he's quiet. And the White Witch leans down and says, who has won now? She says, I'm going to kill you instead of that traitor to appease the magic, and then Narnia is all mine. And with that, she lifts the dagger, and Aslan is killed. And after their celebration, they all take off running, but Lucy and Susan are still watching, hiding, crying, trying to figure things out, going, this is not the way it was supposed to end. I don't get it. And one of them asks, why would they do this to him? To which the other really asks, why would he allow them to do this to him? Why did Jesus allow that? Because in Romans chapter 5, verses 6 through 8, it tells us, you see, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. It says, very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. You see, Jesus chose to die for us not because we deserve it. We were in Edmund's shoes, doing our own thing, rebelling against his ways. But he chose to die because he loves us, because he loves you, because he wanted to rescue us. And I can only imagine how Satan must have been rejoicing as Jesus was on that cross or took the final breath. And I genuinely wonder, did he think he had won? Or did he know anything else? I don't know. But as we go back to the Narnia story, after a few hours after Aslan has been killed, Lucy and Susan are still there. They're looking out, and they hear behind them a great noise, a huge cracking sound. And the stone table had broken right down the middle, and Aslan's body was there no more. And the girls are looking at one another and like, what is going on? Is there more magic? To which behind them, they hear the answer, yes. And Aslan is behind them, and he's alive. And he says, yes, the White Witch didn't know that there was even a deeper magic, a deeper thing that had been set up. That when a certain type of love was shown, the stone table would crack, and death itself would start working backwards. And at the end of that, Aslan goes to rejoin the group to help them fight the White Witch. And in the end, she is defeated, and he is still on the throne. Going back to Jesus. Though he had ultimate power, he allowed himself to be hit and spat upon and mocked, and he allowed every bit of it because he knew God's plan. He knew that death was not the end. He knew that he would rise from the grave. And so death, the most concrete picture of what we humans have as final, God has power over it. God has power over that. Even death cannot contain him because death is not in control. He is. And I know there's a lot of resurrection services right now going on and people talking about some of the benefits of this hope and this life that God gives to us. Here's the one thing I want to focus on this morning is that because of the resurrection of Jesus, there is no more finality. There is no more end. I'll tell you, if you were to go to a funeral of a Christian, it feels a lot different than someone else who doesn't believe. And again, there's still sorrow because someone that we deeply cared about is no longer there. And the memories that we have, they're not there to share them with us anymore. But there's a difference because we know it's not the end. And it's not just a wishful hope. We know that this is only a period at the end of a sentence. It is not the end of the book. But I also want you to know that what God has for us in giving us no finality isn't just someday. It's right now too. Because there are so many things in life that maybe we think are at the end, and God can redeem. He can restore. He can bring life to it. So maybe even as you come this morning, you're watching online, you feel like, man, I have messed up time and time again, and I have failed again and again. Maybe you even say, I'm nothing but a failure. And God looks at you and says, I can work in spite of all that. Or maybe the word that you would use as you're sitting here is, I feel broken. like nothing seems to be working, that I keep trying. And God simply says, as you come to me, I can make you whole. Maybe the place that you are in life is that darkness that Evan talked about. You're like, I feel no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no hope. And Jesus says, if you come to me, I will bring you into light. Maybe you're in a marriage that's really, really struggling. Like you're at the very end of the rope. And yet Jesus says, and if both of you will give me your heart, the story that I can write is beyond what you can imagine. And I'll tell you that even if you're in a marriage where the other person, your spouse, is not a believer, God can use you to light a fire, a spark. Maybe you think about just some parenting issues with a child or with a parent, and there's just some struggles, and God says, man, come to me. And again, you'll see some amazing things that can happen. Maybe for you, you come just feeling substance abuse, and God says, I can make you clean. You feel anxieties and pressures every single day, and God says, come to me. I will take those. Maybe you're in a spot where your finances just feel like they are in the dump, and God says, come to me. I've got a guide for you. Will you follow after this? Maybe what you simply just want to yell out is, I do not measure up. And God wants you to hear, it's not about that, because I hold you up. You see, the God that we serve is a God of second chances. He's a God of second chances. And there's a song that sometimes we sing. It says, if I'm not dead, then you're not done. As long as we're still breathing, God is working in us. In Philippians 1:6, that he is faithful, and he will faithfully complete it until the day he comes back. He will not stop working in our lives. We will continue to get to experience the resurrection and the life. Man, I am thankful. I am thankful for a God who is not bound by death, but he is greater than that. And though he's not safe, he is so, so good. So today, we're going to continue in our worship service. But even as you've heard the story played out through Narnia, or the real gospel of Jesus Christ and what he's offering to you, this freedom, this life, maybe today is the day that you want to give your life to him, to become a follower, not to play a game, because I will tell you, though God is a God of second chances, there will be a time that you no longer have a choice. When either you die or he comes back, your opportunity will have passed. And so if you feel the Spirit leading you and you want this life, or you even have questions about what does it mean to accept Jesus, then while we're singing, we have people in the prayer room that would love to talk with you and pray with you. Or maybe even some of those other things that I mentioned, you just feel the darkness, you feel the weight of life right now. We would love to pray alongside of you, because God has life for you. So as we continue to worship, may we simply praise the one who did what we could never do, and because of the resurrection, everything changes. Let's worship.